Hey, so today I'm talking with Rachel this week from Colorado. Working with us here at Money Management International, Rachel paid off an incredible $28,000 in debt in just 3.5 years through our debt management plan.
Debt. We've all heard of it. Most of us have it. Debt seems to be an unavoidable reality of life. But what happens when it starts consuming life? Here at Money Management International, we believe that financial challenges aren't meant to be faced alone. On this podcast, we hear stories of people whose lives have been changed by MMI. Their stories are unique, personal, and inspiring. Stay tuned. We're sharing each guest's long story, short.
Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Before we get started, tell us just a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so just moved from San Antonio. I lived there for 12 years. Grew up in Ohio. Did EMS for 7 years and decided just kind of a God thing, moved me to Colorado. And in the middle of that move, broke both of my thumbs. And so had to actually, you don't know this, but had to actually start working in a career that you don't need your thumbs. You need them for EMS. And so I started actually working as a financial representative in the interim while my body heals and stuff like that. So little something you didn't know.
That's amazing, actually. I hope you're liking it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, when I think about financial wellness and financial success, our financial success and wellness is a journey. It is not a linear path, and we all know this. And I feel like at different points in our lives, our situations and our finances look totally different, and stuff is always changing. So can you tell us a little bit more about what was happening before you reached out to us here at MMI? How did you find us? Things like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact year I signed up with y'all, but in 2017, I was in a pretty decent car accident. It wasn't bad in the aspect of broken bones, but it had a lot of musculoskeletal issues and a lot of medical stuff from that. And the girl who hit me, her insurance claimed 100% liability, so everything seemed like it was going to be okay. So to cover all the expenses, I actually opened up several different credit cards that had no interest for like 14 months or 12 months, because in my mind, I really believed that the settlement would pay off the entire debt and it would do it before it reached the interest rate. Little did I know that my injuries were a little more neurological in an aspect, just lost some nerve feeling in certain areas, constant tingling in all four extremities. And so this made my medical expenses kind of go past, I figured, 6-8 months and, I'll be better. But I was still treating up to the 2-year mark. There was a little, I won't go too in depth with it, but there was a little fluke. I was sideswiped a year after the first accident.
Oh, geez.
Immediately saw my doctors and chiropractors. No injuries were noted. Talked with the attorney for the first car accident, and he said, don't do anything. We don't want, the car insurance company to, it'll just cause too many issues. Well, little did we know they both had the same car insurance. And so they were able to see that I was in another accident. And so they refused to pay any medical expenses past that second car accident date. And so that kind of left me in a little bit of an SOL situation, going into it thinking I'm not going to have any credit card debt because this is all going to be paid off by a settlement and then some, to I'm now stuck with, I think it was probably about 35,000-ish, give or take. And I think my medical expenses for the 2 years totaled about close to $80,000. And so with the little bit that we got, we were able to pay off providers. But then I was stuck with this debt, and then interest kicked in. And once interest kicked in, I was drowning.
Sure.
I've always been a workaholic, get it done, make it happen type of person. I'll have 2 or 3 jobs. Like there's a means to an end. Like you can make it through, but it didn't matter. I was working EMS. I was doing a cleaning business. I was still trying to heal from my injuries and struggling with that. And I wasn't making a dent in it. And so I think it might have been like a year and a half after the fact, people kept telling me, oh, do like a debt consolidation. I'm like, oh, that's just too much energy. Like, it's too much, to go through the paperwork, to go through giving them all this stuff. And I hate doing stuff over the phone anyways. I hate all that paperwork and whatnot. And so I just kept putting it off. And finally, I just got to this breaking point of I am never going to have a life if I can't get out from under this debt. Like, I'm projected to pay this off in, I can't remember, it was like 40, 50 years. And it's like, that's my life.
So you found us, you came to us, and I'm so happy that you did. So how did working with the debt counselors here at MMI help you sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel or see a path forward?
It was really awesome because right before I signed up, I had, I think, like 5 or 6 different credit card payments. And, doing the minimum payment, I think in and of itself was over like $800 a month.
Oh, wow.
And not making a dent. So that was really hard. So one of the biggest things, and it was like they all came out at a different time. And so one of the biggest things that really helped was I knew every other Monday, $309 is coming out, and it's going to one place, one phone number to call, one customer service, representative to talk to. It's scheduled. I know that, most month it's going to be $618. Other months it's going to be, 927 or something like that, because it's every other, it's biweekly. So it just really made it, that in and of itself just made it so much more simple. And then they were able to get my my interest levels down to practically nothing compared to what they were. And so it just, it made it easy. I was actually projected to have it paid off June of this year. Somehow, I don't know if it has to do with, the interest levels or whatnot, but I ended up paying it off in, I think, like November, December of 2023. So
that's amazing.
A huge blessing. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just in time to start the new year.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So you said a little bit about your experience, but what do you think is the most important thing that you learned throughout the process?
Before the car accident and everything, I've always been, very much don't open credit cards, like they're bad, stuff like that, and just kind of found myself a victim of circumstance. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is that even if you are a victim of circumstance, even if it seems like all the cards are stacked up against you, even if it feels like you're drowning, there's always a way out, and there's always a way to move forward. It kind of also heightened and I say this might sound a little hypocritical with what might come next in the conversation, but it was like, okay, do not get into major credit card debt again. Just don't do it. It's a trap. Like, save up your money.
Right.
Pre-COVID, I was able to save up on this plan. I was able to save up about $12,000. COVID kind of sucked some stuff out of that. So I kind of, depleted that, but it kind of just helped me have a better financial awareness of don't spend more than you make, don't splurge and stuff like that, have a better budget and, all that.
Yeah, just being more aware. So, we talked earlier about financial wellness being a journey and certainly not a linear path.
Right.
And so you mentioned that you were able to pay this debt off a little bit early, which is amazing. But then I know from talking to you before we started recording that something happened. And so if you could tell us a little bit more about that, I would appreciate it. I think people would love to hear it.
Yeah. So I was working EMS 2023, and I was actually working on the border of Texas on a contract job. There was an influx of calls just with border crisis and stuff. And the contract ended at the 3 months. I didn't extend. And so I found myself without a job. And so I kind of just, prayed through things and told the Lord, I'll do whatever you want. And through a series of events, doors opened wide open for Colorado, and did not want to leave Texas. Very much love Texas, but the Lord opened the doors. And so I was like, let's go. And so I did a little trip to Colorado end of September, came back the very end of September. 2 days later, I think was October. And very beginning of October, right after I decided I was going to move to Colorado, fell roller skating with one of my friends and broke both of my thumbs.
Oh,
And so in the middle of, my savings was already kind of depleted a little bit. I hadn't really been working much since July of that year, just doing little odd end things until I could find something more permanent. And it was like, okay, I have to pack up my entire house. I have to move and start a new career. My thumbs weren't healing. I'll kind of backtrack there. Couldn't figure out. I had like bruising all on my wrist. It's actually my wrist I broke, but it's the bone right below the thumbs. And so I had to have a series of like follow-ups and exams and had to do MRIs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to move. I don't have too much left in savings. I need to keep any amount that I have just for moving expenses. And so I did have to do credit card stuff again. But I knew, I was like, I'm not, this is going to be very, very strict with this. This is only going to be, necessities that absolutely have to get done to figure out what's going on with my thumbs. And then once we kind of get on track, we're just going to send this right back to MMI, because unfortunately that credit card, it was interest right away. So there was no like grace period of no interest. And so once that door was closed, I'm like, okay, you're going right back, because we're not going to let this get out of control. We're not going to drown in this, and we're getting this interest rate down, because this is, too high.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you said. And I love that you made the decision to say at the outset, this is a necessities only, nothing extra. And I'm paying this sucker off as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you had such a good experience that you were able to come back to us and that we can help you knock that out too. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I just had a couple of other questions. We're talking about debt. And so it is something that is so common for so many of us, but we don't talk about it. We're talking about it today, but typically we don't. So how do you think debt counseling organizations, nonprofits like MMI, are breaking that debt stigma?
I think, it's just helping people see and realize that they don't have to be afraid of their debt. They don't have to be ashamed of it. So my experience with MMI, nobody sat there and judged me like, oh my gosh, how did you get $30,000 in credit card debt? It was completely, oh yeah, we're here to help. We're going to help counsel you. We're going to close out all the credit cards you're sending to us, so you're not going to be able to spend any more on that. For me, it made it easier. You're with your friends, your peers, you're kind of ashamed to be like, I'm in so much debt. But with this, working with MMI, it's been, there's so many friends that I'm like, go to Money Management Incorporated, like go to them, call them up. I had really great success with them. And, I've seen, posts, these random things scrolling on Facebook, like don't do a debt consolidation, it's a trap. And I'm like, I go on it and I comment, I say, no, it's not. It gave me my life back, so I think the easeability of it, the friendliness of the counselors, they really made it easy for me to make that first step. But then going forward, just being able to get out from under that debt just kind of gave me this torch to carry now. And I'm not ashamed to say, hey, this is where I was, this is where I'm at now. And you can do it too. Like you can call them up. I know that's the hardest step, but once they take it all. And what's funny, they send you a statement every month, and it has a little pie chart that has the percentage that your debt has paid off, how much percentage you have left to go. And, every month I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'm a little closer. And I got my last statement, and it's the only one I'm keeping. And I haven't bought a frame for it yet, but I'm like, I want to buy a frame for this, because this was huge. Like this was big. Like I have 0% debt on this. It's 100% paid off. This was hard, but I did it. I stuck to it, and, it's done. So.
So it's exciting.
Yeah.
It is. It's good stuff. I'm happy that you're sort of working with us to help break that debt stigma, telling people, no, it is not, is a good thing, And I think it's going to go a long way, these types of conversations. So last question, what does being debt-free mean for you? You were able to pay off $28,000 in 3.5 years. You've got a little bit left to go on this other situation that happened unexpectedly, but you climbed a big, big mountain. So tell us about what being debt-free means for you. And now that you've been able to achieve this debt reduction goal, what comes next?
Yeah, I feel free. I don't feel weighed down. It was such a breath of fresh air to see that, everything was paid off. And it's interesting that it was paid off 6 months early, and it was paid off at a time that it really needed it to be paid off. So I don't have that stress anymore. Even though it was easy to work with, there was still that, I have to $618 a month is going to this.
Right.
And so that stress is gone. I'm able to save more. I'm able to focus more on me, my health, my now family. So yeah, it's just, I don't have that burden. I don't have that, okay, I have to go get 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs just to make ends meet. I can actually have more time, to focus on other things. What comes next? So I just got married May 7th. My husband and I are, right now, he owns the home, so I guess I own the home. But we would actually like to start saving up for some land. And so that's kind of the goal. And then, Lord willing, have a family. So that's kind of next. And having that money freed up allows us to be able to put more into savings for that and prepare for that. So
that's amazing. Congratulations on your wedding and on your move. And I hope everything's healing up nicely. And
thank you.
And I thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today and to share your story. I really, really appreciate it. So best of luck to you, Rachel. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well.
This guest is a real MMI client whose success is the result of hard work and dedication. While MMI cannot guarantee results, taking early action can increase available options and improve long-term outcomes. Thanks for listening to this episode of Long Story Short, brought to you by Money Management International. To learn more about our work and how we're helping people in all walks of life repay debt, balance their budget, and find lasting financial peace of mind, visit moneymanagement.org.